My name is Mary Collins. I'm 65 years old. And lately, when I wake up in the morning, the first thing I feel isn't pain or stiffness or even fear. It's a kind of emptiness I didn't know how to name for most of my life. I'm not telling this story because I need understanding. I'm telling it because I don't have much time left to tell it honestly. And because maybe someone listening still has years, I don't. Most days now are quiet. Too quiet. The clock ticks. Sometimes I leave the television on just so there's a voice in the room, even if I'm not listening to what it's saying. I used to be surrounded by people. Or at least, I thought I was. When you get to my age, you start counting time differently. You don't think in decades anymore. You think in, how many summers might I have left, or how many Christmases, or how many times will I still be able to drive myself to the grocery store? There's a finality that settles in. Quietly. Like dust. I built my whole life around being needed. I didn't see it that way back then. I told myself I was responsible, dependable, strong, the one people could count on. And they did count on me. For a long time. But nobody tells you what happens when they stop. I grew up in a family where being useful was the same thing as being loved. My father worked long hours. My mother held everything together. Nobody asked how she felt. They asked if dinner was ready, if the shirts were ironed, and if she could watch the kids next door while their mother ran errands. She was always tired. Always moving. I learned early that praise came when you didn't complain. When you showed up. When you handled things so well that nobody had to worry about you. So that's what I became. I married young. 22. He was kind, steady, and not very expressive. We fit together in a practical way. He worked. I worked too, at first. Then the children came. 2 of them. A boy and a girl. I quit my job when the second was born. It just made sense. Daycare costs too much. Someone needed to be home. I was good at it. I organized schedules, meals, school forms, and doctor's appointments. I remembered birthdays. I packed lunches. I told myself this mattered. And it did. It truly did. But somewhere along the way, being needed became the only way I knew how to exist. I didn't ask myself what I wanted. That question felt selfish. Almost dangerous. Wanting things was for people who didn't have responsibilities. So I stayed busy. I volunteered at school. I chaired committees. I brought casseroles when someone was sick. I babysat for friends who needed a break. I said yes to everything. People praised me for it. They called me reliable. A lifesaver. The glue. I liked hearing that. I won't pretend I didn't. My husband leaned on me, too. He never learned how to manage much outside of work. He didn't know where anything was in the kitchen. He didn't know the kids' teachers' names. He'd ask me questions even when the answers were right in front of him. At the time, it felt like proof that I mattered. If I stopped moving, everything would fall apart. Or so I thought. The years passed without any dramatic moments. No big disasters. No clear warnings. Just routines layered on top of routines. Wake up early. Make breakfast. Drive kids to school. Run errands. Clean. Cook. Help with homework. Fall into bed tired. Repeat. I remember small things now that didn't seem important then. Sitting in the car outside the house for a minute longer than necessary, just to have silence. Letting the shower run a little extra, even when someone knocked on the door asking where something was. Once, my daughter asked me what I liked to do for fun. I laughed it off. I said, I don't have time for hobbies. Like it was a joke. I wasn't joking. I just didn't know the answer. When the kids got older, my usefulness shifted. They needed rides. Money. Advice. Emotional support. I was always available. Too available. I dropped plans if someone called. I skipped lunch with friends because my son needed help with something last minute. I missed a neighbor's birthday dinner because my daughter was having a bad day and wanted to talk. I told myself I was choosing love over inconvenience. But I never noticed how rarely anyone chose me. My marriage drifted into something quiet and functional. We didn't fight much. We also didn't talk much beyond logistics. What's for dinner? Did you pay the electric bill? What time is the appointment? At night, he'd fall asleep quickly. I'd lie awake, tired but restless, wondering why I felt lonely with someone right beside me. I assumed that feeling would pass. That once the kids were grown, once things slowed down, I'd finally breathe. I was always waiting for later. Later came, but it didn't look the way I expected. The kids moved out. One across the country. One of the few towns over. They called less. Not because they didn't love me, but because they didn't need me in the same way. They had their own lives. Their own problems. Their own people. I should have been happy for them. Mostly, I was. But there was an ache I couldn't explain. Suddenly, my days had gaps in them. Long ones. Empty ones. I filled them the only way I knew how. I took on more for others. Church events. community drives, helping neighbors. If someone needed something, I was there. If nobody needed me, I felt invisible. My husband retired. We were together more, but not closer. Without work, he didn't know what to do with himself. Without kids, I didn't know who I was. We circled each other in the house, polite, distant. Then he got sick. It wasn't sudden. Just a cough that wouldn't go away. Fatigue. Tests. Waiting rooms. More waiting. Cancer. I became what I'd always been. The organizer. The caretaker. The one who kept track of medications and appointments and insurance forms. People praised me again. Told me how strong I was. How lucky he was to have me. I nodded. I smiled. I did what needed to be done. But somewhere inside, something hardened. Not resentment. Just exhaustion. He died 2 years later. Quietly. In a hospital room that smelled like disinfectant and stale coffee. I held his hand. I told him it was okay to go. And when he did, there was a strange relief mixed with grief. Relief that I hated myself for feeling. After the funeral, the house felt unbearable. Too big. Too silent. People checked in for a while. Bought food. Sat with me. Told stories. Then life went on. Their life, not mine. The calls slowed. The visits became occasional. Holidays were busy but brief. I told myself this was normal. This was aging. This was the natural order. But the truth crept in during small moments. Standing in the kitchen with nothing to cook for anyone. Folding laundry that was only mine. Sitting in a waiting room alone because there was no one left to accompany me. I realized something then, slowly, painfully. I had spent my whole life being needed. And I had never learned how to be wanted. There's a difference. Being needed means people come to you when they require something. Being wanted means they come because they choose you. I confused the two for decades. I thought devotion would be returned in presence. That loyalty would be met with closeness. But when my usefulness faded, so did much of my place in other people's lives. Not out of cruelty. Just out of momentum. I don't blame my children. I don't blame my husband. I don't even blame myself, not entirely. I did what made sense at the time. I was praised for it. Encouraged. Applauded. No one ever pulled me aside and said, "Mary, you're allowed to take up space even when you're not solving something." No one said, "If you don't build a life beyond service, You'll wake up one day and realize there's nothing holding you. And I didn't ask. I assumed there would always be someone who needed me. Then came the day I fell in my kitchen. Nothing dramatic. Just slipped. Bruised my hip. Sat on the floor longer than I should have because there was no one to call right away. I remember laughing to myself. Not because it was funny. Because it was absurd. I had been the emergency contact for so many people. And now, I didn't know who mine was. That was the moment clarity arrived. Not with thunder. Just with a quiet, awful understanding. This is what I built. And this is what I don't have. There are things that can't be fixed now. I can't go back and learn who I was before responsibility swallowed me. I can't ask my younger self to sit still long enough to feel her own desires. I can't remake relationships that were built on function instead of intimacy. Time doesn't negotiate. I still see my children. I love them deeply. But I'm no longer central to their days. And I shouldn't be. That's not the tragedy. The tragedy is that I don't feel central to my own. I sometimes wonder who would miss me if I were gone. Not in a dramatic way. Just honestly. Who would notice the absence beyond a brief sadness? That thought used to scare me. Now it just sits there. If you're listening to this and you're younger than me, I won't tell you what to do. I don't believe in instructions from strangers. I'll just tell you what I wish I had known. Being needed can feel like love. But it isn't the same thing. If your entire worth comes from what you provide, then the moment you stop providing, you disappear. Make room for parts of yourself that don't serve anyone. Guard them. They matter more than you think. Ask yourself, once in a while, what you want. Even if you don't act on it right away. Even if the answer scares you. And don't assume there will be more time. That's the lie I lived with longest. There isn't always later. I'm not bitter. Truly. I'm grateful for many things. I loved deeply. I gave generously. I mattered to people when they needed me. But I wish I had mattered to myself when I didn't. If this story meant something to you, if it felt familiar in an uncomfortable way, you don't have to respond. You don't have to share. Just sit with it. I'm sitting with my life now. All of it. The good and the quiet and the empty spaces. The days ahead are fewer than the days behind me. I feel that in my bones. I don't know how I'll be remembered. Maybe as helpful. Reliable. Always there. I hope that's enough. But some nights, when the house is dark and the clock keeps ticking, I wish I had been more than needed. I wish I had been known. And now, all I can do is tell the truth while I still can.